Okay guys, so this video is going to be about setting up if you want to follow along exactly how I'm working. So I mentioned this one at the very beginning of the first thing where I'm working a little bit differently. So I'm using Gulp and NPN to set all of this up to make it so I can compile my SAS and just refresh the browser automatically without having to use something like Prepros. I know not all of you guys want to spend money on something like that, and completely understandable, we can do it for free. So what I've done is I've set up my file here, so it's on GitHub. You can just download it from GitHub. The link for this is in there. Clone or download. If you have GitHub and you're using the desktop or something, you can open it in desktop. If you know GitHub in the terminal, you know how to do it that way. And if you don't want to worry about GitHub, just click download zip, get the file on your computer, unzip it, and just work off of that. No matter how you get it on your computer, it's going to work. So if we look here, we can see all the things you're going to get. You're going to get a CSS folder, you're going to get an SCSS folder, there's a gitignore, a license, a gulp file, the index.html, and a package.json. So some things that might not be normal to you are this gulp file and this package.json. So what those are is we can see the gulp file right here. Let's close these off because we'll come back to those after. So what the gulp file and this package.json are, well, they're things that are loading in what we need to work. So this package.json is going to download browser sync, gulp, and gulp SAS. And gulp is what we're going to be using to make browser sync and SAS compile. So this is pretty much just set up to make sure you get all the files that are needed on your computer, and the gulp file is what's making it all work. I'm not going to get into how all of this is working exactly. It's a little bit beyond what I want to be covering in this series, but I don't have any videos on it. Maybe one day I'll do something, but just go look around. There's a million really good resources on how to set up a nice little thing with Gulp. I'm just using it to compile SAS, and for the browser sync feature, you can also do auto prefixing. You can minify CSS. You can uglify your JS. You can take a whole bunch of files and jam them into one file. You can optimize your images. You can do some really awesome things. So definitely, if it piques your interest a little bit, it might be worth checking out. Now, to be able to use this, you need to have Node.js installed on your computer. If you don't have it, it's just nodejs.org. You can come here, click the download button. It's just a really simple installer, one of those like next. It's going to install and you're done. It's super easy to do. And the reason we need Node.js is that installs something called npm, which is the Node Package Manager. And that's what lets us download all these things and for everything to work. Now, the one thing with this is it does use, you have to use the command line terminal thing, and you might not be super comfortable, but it's really easy to do, I promise you. So we're going to look at doing that now. Now, you might have noticed that I'm using a different code editor than I've used in the past. And the code editor that I'm using is called, in this video, or in this series, it's called VS Code. So it's Visual Studio Code, VS Code. It's made by Microsoft. I heard a lot of people saying really good things about it, so I had to try it out, and I really am digging it. I'm thinking about switching over full-time from Atom. There's a lot of built-in features that are really, really good with it that I'm really digging. One of them is if you push Control backtick on your keyboard, it opens up the terminal. You have this little terminal option. I don't know what this is here for. That's weird. But it opens up the terminal. And in the terminal, this is the same. If you're on a Mac, you can open up terminal. If you're on a PC or a Windows computer shell, you can open up PowerShell. So you just go in your little start thing, type in PowerShell, and you'll get something that looks like this. So if you're not using VS Code, no problem at all. This works exactly the same for the steps that I'm going to be doing. If you are doing these steps though, you do need to cd or change directory into the file that we're working from. So you've downloaded the file, it's on your computer. You're going to push cd space, and then you want to go find the actual folder. And then just drag that folder right in to here. So it's going to put the whole path right there. This works on a Mac or on a PC. I grabbed it from up here, but you could just take a whole folder like that as well, and that would work fine. And I'm going to push return on the keyboard. And now I'm inside of there. So I'm going to type in clear. So now you can see I'm inside of my portfolio with CSS Grid. Now I'm going to keep doing it over here, but if you're in the PowerShell or your terminal on Mac or whatever it is, that's fine. Works all the same. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in npm install. And what that's going to do is it's going to look at this file. It's going to see that I need browser sync gulp and gulp sass, and it's going to go and find them on the internet and download them. This does take a little while, so go stretch your legs. It'll be a couple minutes. There are some of these that have a lot more dependencies. They can take a really long time, but in this case, it might take 2 minutes or something. So I'll be right back with you when it's done. And there we go. When it's done, it'll just bring you back to something that looks like this. You can see we're back in where I started. So again, I'm just going to type in clear. Now, one thing, whether or not I'm farther along in the series or not, you're going to have to do that step because the node modules is not going to be here. All of what it just installed all got installed in this node modules folder right here. So if you go and take a look in it, there's a whole bunch of junk in there that we're not going to worry about. But it is all there, and it's what's being used to run these here. Now, all we need to do is type in gulp. So when I type in gulp like this, what it's doing is it's telling it to run all this. So I'm going to type gulp, and I'm just going to just return. And the browser should pop up. I'm going to move this over, because in a second, you can see it says serving files. There we go. And I have a page here. So it's serving files from the dot just means root directory. So what I'm going to do is let's open up my index and let's see if this is working. So my body, let's just do h1 test, close h1. Whenever I do these, I always want to test them out to make sure they're working. I'm going to save that file. And look at that, test pops up right there. Now I just realized I never even linked to my CSS file, so css/main.css. And now let's go into my, I'm not going to go in there though, I'm going to go into my SCSS folder, and let's try something. We're going to do body background is red. And now when I save that, look at that. I have a red background, so I didn't have to refresh or anything like that. So I know that my, I know first of all that it's getting compiled from SCSS into Sass because I just saw the color change, and I also know that my auto refresh is working, so my project is good to go. I'm good to get started. You can jump back over to the first video and follow along. So this project is now going to be underway. Let's rock and roll it, guys.